So Sheraton, I am super excited to talk to you today about your journal that you have been working tirelessly on. I know for a fact that this has been a
labor of love. Yes, it's been a true labor of love.
Coming, and it's finally here. And I get to finally talk to you about the process and what it looked like. Because I know that it could not have been easy.
No, nothing about this journal has been easy. Nothing about this journal has been, how can I, like, delicate, I guess the best way I could put it is, this journal has taught me so much patience that I didn't know I possessed. Patience I know for a fact I did not possess, but it has, between 2020 and this journal, I have a whole new respect for people who can take the time out to create.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So give me the name of the journal.
So the journal is My Fertility Journal, and it's kind of a play on my fertility journey, but with a journal kind of twist to it. I wanted women to be able to have a true way to outlet while still track.
Right.
And when I say track, I mean like track your fertility, track your ovulation, track your cervical mucus, words that women kind of, you know, get embarrassed by talking about to other women and in public. Absolutely. But we all do it. We all have it. We all go through it at some point in time. And some women don't, but a lot of women do.
Right. And I think what I'm excited to hear about is your personal journey, because I know that, you know, being your friend, that this was a journey that you really did not talk about, even with the people closest to you.
No.
So tell me, what was the beginning of your journey? What did it look like at the beginning of your fertility process?
So at the beginning of it, it was, I can give you the exact day, October 25th, 2018. And that is the day I found out I was 10 weeks pregnant. And I found out because I went to a well-known nacho place, and it was closed. I had no idea it was closed. And I started bawling. And my husband, well, at that time, my fiance, but my husband now, looked at me and he was like, "Are you okay? I just don't understand why I can't get chili and cheese on some chips." And I was hysterical. And he said, "I think you're pregnant." And I said, "I think I'm not. And we're getting married in 2 weeks. I'm fine. I just need nachos." That turned into an emergency room visit, because shortly after, when I say shortly after, like 15 minutes after that, I guess it was the massive amount of emotion displayed, but about 15 minutes after, I started bleeding and getting some really strange lower abdominal cramps. And so I thought, here it is, 2 weeks before I get married. God, I see what you've done for others, and now you're trying to take me out the game.
Right.
And I'm not going to make it down this aisle.
Yeah.
So get to the ER, wait about 2 or 3 hours, and they bring me to the back and quickly tell me, "You're 10 weeks pregnant." And they do a transvaginal ultrasound. I hear a very strong heartbeat. And they're like, "You have to have emergency surgery now." So my husband begins asking questions. I kind of know a little bit in the medical field. I knew there was no way to salvage this. I did not want to crush him. So I had to let him ask all the questions he needed to ask. And then I looked at the doctor and I said, "The whole tube?" He says, "Yeah." So they said, "We'll do our best to try to salvage it, but when you're really understanding, like, your body, when there's that much bleeding that occurs, you don't want to try to salvage it. Save my life, not the tube."
Right.
So that night, October 26th, my right fallopian tube was removed along with the pregnancy, and then it was a journey that you never think that you'll have to go through that kind of journey.
Right.
So it was a journey and a process after that.
And tell me a little bit, I mean, because that's a lot. You're 2 weeks away from being married. This is the first pregnancy with you and your then fiance. In that moment, you know, you talk about being in the hospital room with the doctor. Like, what was going through your mind? What was going through your heart when you were hearing that, you know, you were going to have to terminate the pregnancy, and then having to communicate that to your husband or fiance at the time?
I never communicated it to him. I never, not one time. I think that we both just kind of knew. And I was really grateful for the fact that when we did do the ultrasound, he wasn't allowed at that time to come back there with me. He was handling some other things, you know, because it was late. So he wasn't allowed to come back there. And I'm grateful that he didn't hear their heartbeat. I'm grateful he didn't have to go through that, because it's still moments where I can't shake that sound. And when you can't shake that, I knew that I'm strong enough to get through it, but I didn't want him to have to go through that. So when I got to that place of when I finally realized I didn't allow myself to fall in love with that sound. And I knew better. But I feel so bad for the women who did fall in love with it.
Absolutely.
Because when you hear that sound and you can repetitively hear it and then it's gone, that is a rough feeling. Or just to know that you know it's gone and your body is still going through all the motions.
Yeah.
And you're still hormonal, you're still frustrated, you're still hungry all the time, but there's nothing to come from it.
Yeah.
You're still having to go get your blood test done every 2 days. You're still having to go see doctors and specialists. And then you're left with the idea of, well, can I still conceive? Is this still a possibility for me? And you have doctors telling you one, no. The other, it's going to be really hard. The next, do you have $25,000? Yeah. And you're just hearing all these things, and you're like, but what about naturally? So we're not able to do this on our own? That was the hard part. All of that was going through my head.
Yeah.
It wasn't so much of really communicating. I think we both communicate a lot differently. Yeah. And so I was really internalizing a lot and like having to compartmentalize, like, I'm going to put this in this little box. I'm going to push it to the side. I'll handle you when I can get to you, but not now.
Absolutely.
Because I have to, let my parents know. I got to get my friends here. And is the car here? How am I going to get home tomorrow? All of that. He has to go to work. It was just, I don't have time to feel these emotions right now.
Yeah.
But when they hit, when I'm talking about a floodgate full of emotion that you just never in your life really think that you're going to ever have to battle.
Right.
Something you never think that you'll have to go through. So a lot went through my head that night, but it was not allowing myself to feel a certain type of emotion.
Right, right. And sometimes that kind of helps with the initial blow of what you just went through. And sometimes that's the only way that you can survive it.
It is.
So tell me about that transition between, leaving the hospital, going back home, and trying to find that sense of normalcy again.
It never happened. Did not go back home, went to my parents' house. Strangely enough, I went to Prairie View. I went to Prairie View. So it was homecoming weekend. Yeah. And I still wouldn't allow myself to feel those emotions because I was not going to not go to homecoming.
Right.
Diaper and all from the hospital. I was going to wobble my week behind, fresh out of surgery, down to homecoming because I did not want to feel any emotion. I had to it was a point in time where I had to force myself to get up, and after surgery you have to keep walking. You have a lot of gas and air in your body. You have to keep walking. And no one else was there. My other friend hadn't arrived yet. And I just did not want to feel that level of emotion. I did not want to feel anything. Right. Every show I turned on, it was a Gerber commercial. Every show, it was something. I think it was one time there was diapers, like Huggies. Yeah. And I was like, really? And then I heard the sound. I heard the ultrasound. I broke down. She arrived shortly after, and I was like, I'm literally walking to her car. She pulled up and said, where are you going? I got to go. Take me to homecoming right now. No, you can't go anywhere. I'm like, I don't want to feel this. But once I got to a place where, and honestly, I don't even know today if I have truly allowed, I've had moments, but I've been more so focused, I'm a fixer. How do I fix this? What's the next step? Sitting in my emotions is not going to fix it. So what do I do next? That was always my thought process. It always has been.
Right, right. And is that where the journal came from?
The journal came from me being frustrated. Apps will frustrate you. If you're not like having a regular period, every month where some women can count it down to the day, down to the second and minute. They know it's coming.
Right.
I'm not her. Mine's going to do what it wants to do when it wants to do it. And you just better be ready. So the apps really don't work for you because it'll tell you you're ovulating next week, but then your cervical mucus doesn't match that. And so do I need to have 14 days worth of sex straight? Or do I need to, just kind of leave it up to God? Like, well, God, whenever it happens, it happens. Right. Which I have. I've really put a lot in his hands, but I think that he's given me a gift to be able to understand my body more so. Right. So I've really taken the time to really see what my body's telling me, do my research on different ways to conceive, and then I got really into hand tracking.
Right.
So hand tracking makes it so much easier to look at ovulation sticks, to do your cervical mucus, to do your basal body temperature. It makes it easy.
Right. And at what point, because I want to back up a little bit, at what point did we go from, that place where you were running from your emotions around, the tragic moment that you just had? How do you get back into the mindset of, I want to try again?
this sounds so crazy, but hearing the ultrasound almost started sounding like chasing a high. And you want to hear that sound again. And I'm like the godmother of 5.
Yeah.
And so friends have little kids running around. I've always loved children. Between animals and children, I love them more than just adults. That's always something. I wanted to be a mommy before I wanted to be married. Wow. Marriage really didn't cross my mind like mommyhood did. So it was almost after hearing that ultrasound and hearing what was possible, okay, now I really want to go for it.
Yeah.
And just to know how difficult it is for some people to be able to do that, we didn't have these talks in high school. You know, I don't think, I can speak for myself, my mom was a nurse. She was a great nurse, but whose mother sits them down and says, let me talk to you about cervical mucus?
Right.
Did you have that talk?
No. No.
So who gets that conversation? You hear growing up the whole time, don't get pregnant.
Absolutely.
If you get pregnant, you're not going to come back in this house. And then one day you walk in the house like, I wish I could get pregnant.
Right.
And you're like, now you're on YouTube and I'm researching, I'm Googling, I'm asking. My OB got so frustrated. I have her cell phone number now. I'm texting. So what does this mean? I'm sending her pictures. Like, so what is this? We never really got comfortable knowing ourselves and being comfortable talking about it.
Right.
If we really knew how many women were truly going through this, it will blow your mind.
Absolutely.
And just the shame behind talking about it, I want to remove that stigma.
Right.
I want women to be open and honest and have open conversations about this topic because a lot of women are going through it. A lot of women will go through it and not even realize what they're going through. You don't have to go through this battle alone. You don't have to struggle by yourself. There are so many support groups. There's so many people you can talk to. I reached out to friends, and I have one friend in particular, and she told me, I never talked to anybody about it, but yeah, I went 7 years without being able to conceive after my first child. Girl, why you didn't tell me? I'm struggling myself.
Right.
Oh, I didn't know y'all were trying. We just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
I want to change that.
And that's amazing. That's seriously, because a lot of people do feel there's this shame against your womanhood when you feel like you're a defect because your body isn't doing what we've been told since kids that our bodies are supposed to do this.
Right.
And then what do you do when it's not happening?
Right.
I can't imagine how lonely that feels and feeling like you don't have anyone that you can talk to and understand what it is you're going through.
In my case, I'm very fortunate to have a very understanding husband, to have a great support. I have amazing friends that I can talk to, I can lean on, and not so much feel that shame behind it. But it still comes into play when I'm thinking about my husband's family.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure they want grandchildren. And what's wrong with me?
Right.
Why am I broken?
Yeah.
So you start questioning that, but then, like, God didn't create me broken. I'm not broken. I'm in a process.
Right.
And if everything I have went through was for this moment right here, then I'm going to do just that.
Absolutely.
And that's how I truly feel. I had to really change my thought process because you can get very negative in this journey.
Absolutely.
I mean, like, you can go, especially during the holidays. And I think that everybody and their mama was at home during 2020. And I have seen in the past 2 weeks, like 18 reveals, like pregnancy reveals.
Oh, yeah.
And then you really have to check your feelings and not get in that sunken place of, why not me, God?
Right.
We tried. We've been in this process. We spent thousands of dollars thus far. We have thousands more to spend. Why not me?
And that's heavy. That's very real right now, because I'm with you. You scroll down your timeline and all you see is baby showers, gender reveals, and you can't help but to compare.
You can't help it. You're human. You cannot help but to compare, but then you have to check yourself.
Absolutely.
And really stop and say, what God has for me is for me.
So I think that what is unique about the situation with you is that, you know, you're not doing this by yourself. You have an entire husband that you have to worry about.
Right.
And there are a lot of women who have husbands that are going through this with them in this journey. What has it been like for you to kind of watch, you know, manage your own emotions, but also watch how it affects your husband at the same time?
I'm very careful. I often ask him, how are you feeling? Are you okay? I caught myself a lot after it happened asking him, are you mad at me? I often asked him if he was mad at me. Because it's just something that you really can't control. So I wanted to know if he was frustrated with me, if he felt like he made a bad decision, because it was shortly after we were married.
Right.
So did you feel like you made a bad decision? Our marriage already started off, it started off great. However, I was very sure in the fact of his family may not have always wanted him to be with the black girl. And then here I am coming into it, and then I can't produce what they're looking for. So that really affected me for a while, and I think that I was always asking him, are you okay? Are you mad? And he never not one time wavered. I mean, he stood firm in, we're going to figure this out. Even from him telling me, like, maybe it's my fault. Let me go get tested. Let me go see what's going on. So he was every step of the way of this journey. He was there every step of the way. And so for the women who don't have that, I feel my heart goes out to them, because I don't think if he was in my corner, I really could be doing this. I trust him so much with this process, with this journey, because unfortunately it's his journey too.
Yeah.
And we're in this thing together. But for those who don't have that, I feel, I pray that this journal releases them, because I couldn't imagine not having him as an outlet. Right. I couldn't ever imagine not having him to talk to, or tell him when I'm frustrated, or let him know, even in the process of making this journal, of, I don't think this is going to make sense. I'm not going to do it anymore. Or I don't think that they're going to be able to get what I need them to get out of it, so I'm not going to do it. And then him picking up the phone. And I don't even think the person who created the journal realized that some nights it was him texting her. Sometimes it was him doing designs. I feel so bad for women who don't have that. And I have a grateful heart that he is there. He is there full on, supporting me, helping me. He cares enough about the process and the journal just to see where it's going to go. Words cannot express how grateful I am for him being as supportive that he is. He's amazing. He's amazingly supportive.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a lot. I think as women, sometimes we, taking care of the family, we are trying to manage our own emotions and then cater to the emotions of the ones we love as well. Yeah. And that burden in itself is difficult. And I definitely can see why you would feel like he would be upset with you. Yeah. Because it's like when you go through something like that, like I said, when we feel like this is what our bodies was created to do and we can't do it, especially being a newlywed. Right. You know, our, badge of honor sometimes as women is being able to give my husband a child. Correct. And, kind of trying to figure out what's going through his head if I can't be that thing for him. Right.
And I'm just happy because he's not the biggest communicator, but somehow in this he knew how to communicate. He knew how to be what I needed at every single process, from surgery to another surgery to testing. He knew what I needed at every turn, and I just prayed that. I used to ask him, like, what do I need to be for you at this moment? Like, are you okay? Because he had friends that he saw have children. Right. He had friends who conceived and he saw things, and I would have to ask him, are you okay? And he was like, I'm fine. We're going to get there one day. And he always was like, this is not the end for us. He was really firm on, it's going to keep going. We're okay. And it was me who was having midnight breakdowns and, talking to pastors and friends, and it was angry at God for a while, and angry like, why every time it's a test. Now it's another test. I appreciate you thinking that I'm so strong, but I'm really not feeling it right now. I want to have this moment of weakness, but this S on my chest is really heavy. And what's next? Why is it always something else? So if this journal can just release some women from that stigma and that shame and that hurt feeling, that's what I'm trying to accomplish. That's what I want the goal to be, not only as conception, but to get rid of the stigma. Yeah. And the shame behind talking about it, because so many women go through it. You wouldn't believe how many women, literally if you have 5 women next to each other, at least 3 of them are going through a fertility process, whether they know it or not. Wow. And after a year of struggling with fertility, I don't like to call it infertility, but after a year of struggling with it, the doctors then label you as, unknown infertility. Right. And what do you mean you don't know? What do you mean it's unknown? I like things to have a title attached to them. Yes. So tell me what exactly is wrong and let's work on fixing it. But it kind of feels like this situation sometimes can feel like water in your hands. It's just seeping away. And you don't know what to do to correct it. You don't know how to fix it. You kind of just have to ride it out.
Yeah.
But it helps having your hands busy. It helps being able to journal the process. It helps being able to take the journal to a doctor and say, this is what I've been noticing.
Yeah.
This is what's been going on. And then taking it from there.
Absolutely. So for the women who may not feel as courageous or may not have the support that you have, how can they overcome? Because I can only imagine the fear associated with saying, okay, I'm going to hope for this to happen for me. I'm going to hold on to my hope and keep trying.
Right.
How could they overcome the fear?
Well, first of all, never lose your hope. Never lose your prayer behind this. God did not create you to be barren. That's not his reason for creating you. But I will say, establish your boundaries. I have very firm boundaries established. I have friends who don't know about my journey, who will now. But I have very firm boundaries established. I don't allow people to ask me, when will you be conceiving? Do you have children? When will you? I don't allow those questions. I will stop you right there. When will you? You don't ask a woman that, because you never know somebody's journey. I always tell people, establish your boundaries. That's your story. That's your thing. Whenever you're ready to tell it, you talk about it. Until then, keep it to yourself or share it. Now, for me, sharing has been a great release. At first, it wasn't. It was a huge shame. It took me a while to even get to this place, because I'm still thinking of my mom's friends and my husband's mom's friends and his family. What are they going to think? But I really don't care. Whoever this helps, whoever this is for, that's my concern.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's all that matters at the end of the day.
All that matters.
And it's so important because you went through this for a purpose bigger than yourself. And when you silence yourself, you are...
I'm doing a detriment to every woman who needs this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So for the women who are holding on to their hope of conceiving, how was this journal going to help them reach that end goal that they're looking for?
So this journal allows you to be able to track your fertility in a different kind of way. I'm a little old school. The apps are great for the women that they are made for. The ovulation temperature checks and thermometers that are made for the apps, those are good for women who are regular. But for the millions of women who are not, for me, hand tracking has been what works. It may be a little time consuming sometimes, but it's the most accurate.
Gotcha.
So when you do your basal body, when you do your cervical mucus check, when you do your ovulation sticks, all those in conjunction can really help you understand how your body is operating. I think that if we understand our bodies a little bit more, we wouldn't be in a struggle of, well, am I ovulating today? Am I not? Well, this is a cramp. I'm not on my cycle right now. What does it mean?
Right.
That's what I want to get to, is a full understanding.
And that understanding helps with the anxiety.
Yes.
And I think it also helps give you a sense of control of the process.
Yeah.
You know, where a lot of women feel like they're just out of control because they don't understand how their body works.
Right.
And I think for that reason that this journal is amazing at being able to give women that sense of power over their bodies and over this entire process. I also love the fact, because you know I'm a therapist, that you incorporated the journaling aspect. Why did you make that decision?
So when the process first happened, I did not allow anybody to be my outlet. I didn't want to be a burden to anybody. I really didn't even want to talk to God about it, because he already knew what was going on. So why am I complaining to him about it? So I was already into journaling, but when I say I dove into it, I started journaling every single thing. And when I mean it helped me to be able to remember certain things, it helped me be able to have an outlet. I could trust my journal. And so my journal, I started collecting journals. And it became my new little hobby, is to journal my feelings, journal my emotions, even down to the day and time. Like, it's Sheraton, November, whatever. This is how I'm feeling. And that's how I was able to really get to a place where I was even able to discuss it. Even seeing it on paper, at first I was like, somebody might run across this. I don't want it to be seen. That's what started to really say, you know what, there's a stigma behind this I want to break.
Yeah, and a lot of people can't make that connection.
Right.
So definitely the journaling aspect, when I saw that, I was like, oh, this is golden, because
I know you would love that part.
You have to have an outlet, you
Right.
know, and like you said, even starting this process where you had so many emotions that you wanted to run away from,
Yeah.
you know, and for the women who don't know how to communicate, or they don't have anyone to communicate their emotions to, the journaling is an amazing tool.
Yeah.
Amazing tool.
Thank you.
So kudos to you,
Thank you. I
for,
knew you
for
would love
adding
that
for
part.
adding that aspect. So tell me more about this amazing journal. Give me the features of all of everything that comes in the journal.
Okay, so it starts off with my white page. So you get a little bit of my story, how all this started, and a little bit of why I did this. And then you get a guide to really help you understand what you're exactly tracking. I gave you a track page because I need some assistance too. You know, we gotta learn how to, you know, work your journal. Every other page has a quote attached to it, and you have your tracking page. You have another tracking page because for the whole month, and then you have a journal page.
Right.
So the journal pages have to be my favorite, and those have to be what I talk to God. I literally sometimes write from my pen to God's ear, down journaling, and then you get back into the next month of tracking.
Right.
So you can literally track your month, the year, your cycle number of which month that you're trying to conceive, and then you have some great inspirational quotes that will just help push you to journal, push you to track. You know, you don't want to have those, you know, we all have those lazy days, and tracking is not for the lazy.
Right.
It is not always an easy process when you're at work and you're putting your ovulation stick in your pocket and you're bringing your cup in the bathroom because you have to get those certain times. So it's not for the easy.
Gotcha.
So make sure that, you know, you stay committed to your goal, committed to your purpose, committed to your dream. This is what you want right now.
Right.
So fully commit to it.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Absolutely. And as with all things, everything is a process.
It is.
Everything is a journey.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you for sharing your journey with us today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Because we all need to hear that, you know, we may hope for something, we may dream for something, but it does not always mean that the road to it is going to be easy.
Right.
But you're giving us tools
Yes.
that help us achieve the vision. So
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome.